Welcome. Let's talk about predicting the Vegas Golden Knights off-season. Now, the last team I shot was the Washington Capitals there. The next team I'll do will be the Vancouver Canucks. And this is a new series that I'll be shooting, obviously, in reverse alphabetical order, so you can just as easily find your favorite team in my playlist. I'll also put up a couple of links for you as well. The cap for the next season, and maybe a season after that, will be stagnant at $81.5 million. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights projected cap hit, is just over $75 million. That only leaves them with about $5 million to play with. And their biggest problem might be resigning goaltender UFA Robin Lehner, who's 29 years old. And they need someone to take a lot of games off of Marc-Andre Fleury's back here, because he's 35, he's got 2 more seasons at $7 million, and he's been leaking oil for the last 2 seasons. He shouldn't probably be playing more than 35-ish games at this stage in his career. Leonard's been pretty good in the playoffs at the moment, as he was for them in the limited amount of regular season games. They're going to have to move some money out. That's the story behind it. I don't see anyone on defense, but from the forward group, there might be some possibilities here. Starting off first with a crazy thought, Alex Tuch, who's having a terrific playoffs at the moment, at the time of this video. Now, he's 24 years old. He's making $4.75 million for the next 6 seasons afterwards. And he has 7 goals at the moment, just more than anyone else on the team. The next best is Stone with 6. He didn't have a really good regular season, but he did score 20 goals the year before that. Maybe you sell high. Maybe. So there's a possibility to move some money away. Or maybe you think about moving Paul Stastny, their second-line center, who's 34 years old right now. He's got 1 more season left at $6.5 million. But then how do you replace him, right? The UFA market is slim on centers. Maybe you look at Chandler Stevenson, or a moonlighting position of some sort, because Stevenson usually plays, 3rd, 4th line center, but he's got very similar numbers to Stastny during the playoffs. And I'm talking about ice time, points, and plus minus. And if you think about bringing in some rookie centers into the picture, their number 1 prospect, Peyton Krebs, who's about 19, 20 years old, 5'11". He is slotted in at 19th overall in NHL prospects. He's got some moxie. He's a playmaker. He could probably slot into the 3rd or 4th line center spot really well. Juggle between him and Nicholas Roy there, or even Lucas Elvins, if I'm saying that properly, who's their 3rd overall ranked prospect by the Hockey News. He's 20 years old, 6'1", playing with in the AHL at the moment. As opposed to Krebs, who's playing in juniors. So those 2 guys are at least going to see some training camp time, get a good look to help fill, some of those spots. But I digress. Let's say if they don't sign Lehner, what's the UFA market look like? It's pretty good for goaltenders, actually. There's quite a selection there. I would think they would zero in on players, goaltenders like Greiss or Hudobin, who I think are the best of the bunch for that sort of $3 to $4 million-ish price point. Then there's Cam Talbot as well, who might fit in with a bit better price. He finished the last half of the regular season really well for Calgary. Had a pretty good playoffs, except for maybe that last game. So something to think about there. Or another crazy thought, Corey Crawford. He's a UFA. Now, he's had a concussion history, I know, and he's been in decline, but he had a good season for the most part, a .917 save percentage, and played really well in the playoffs, too. So, yeah, if he wants, to win a cup with a contender in the twilight of his career, that's not happening in Chicago, right? So, there's that. Now, moving on to the defense. They've got 2 UFAs, no RFAs. The first UFA is Derek Englund. He's 38 years old, right shot defenseman. He's probably going to retire, you would think. Or if they want to keep him as, say, a 7th or 8th D, they can sign him for the same amount of money, league minimum. Because Zach Whitecloud isn't coming out of the lineup. He's been playing very good for them. Then there's John Merrill, the other UFA, who's 28 years old, left shot defenseman, also playing on that bottom pairing. He's just coming off a $1.3+ million contract. I would think they'd be able to sign him for around the same amount of money. Or they could bring in a couple of rookies. And I'm talking about left shot defenseman Jimmy Schultz, who's 24. He's been marinating in the AHL for a while, 6'1", 205 pounds. He's good on the defensive side of things. He has a good work ethic. Why not, right? But if you were to look at the UFA market for defenders, for bottom pairing defenders, you could maybe take a look at Andy Green, who you could sign for cheap at 37 years old. He plays both left and right side, shoots left. There's maybe even Cody Ceci, although he's a right shot defender. Or a Justin Braun, he's also right shot. Ron Hainsey, he plays both left and right. He's a left shot. I know he's Gandalf. He's 39 years old. But he also plays the BK, and if you limit his minutes on the bottom pairing, just saying. Moving on, let's talk about some of the forward groups here. And they have one UFA, and that's Thomas Nosek, who usually slots in as fourth-line center, 27 years old, also plays wing, coming off a $1 million contract. If feelings are mutual, he should be able to sign for around the same amount of money, maybe even a tad less. And then there's two RFAs with arbitration rights. The first is Nick Cousins, who usually plays wing, but can also play center on the third line. 27 years old, $1 million contract he's coming off of. If they want to keep him, he could probably pay him around the same amount of money. And then the last one here is Chandler Stevenson, who I mentioned earlier, who can play center and wing, 26 years old, just making coming off a $1 million contract. Excuse me. They may have to give him a bit of a raise, give or take $1.5 million ish. But if they were looking for centers or wingers in the free agent market, as I said, the center market isn't too. It's pretty thin at the moment. The best of the pack might be Michael Granlund. Who's going to overpay that guy? He's coming off a $5.5 million contract. He had 17 goals with Nashville. There's also, maybe they bring back Eric Holla, perhaps. He didn't have the terrific season, but feels like he can play better than he has. His best season was with Vegas in their inaugural season, I want to say. Or maybe even looking at a player like Carl Soderberg, who can play center and wing, 34 years old, scored 17 goals with the Coyotes this year, and had 35 points. There's that. When it comes to wingers, maybe a player like Tyler Ennis, they could get for super cheap to play, third line minutes. Jimmy Vesey is another possibility. Matt Martin. Imagine having Matt Martin in. And Reeves on the same lineup. That would be scary. In a good way. But he wouldn't put up much points, obviously. Who else? I don't know. Frolik? I'm struggling here. Clifford? Ooh, he's more of a fourth-line guy. If they could find the money for him, Jesper Fast would be terrific. He's great in the corners. Great forechecker, responsibly defensively, can put up around 30, 35 points a season. Anyways, I would love to hear how you think their offseason is going to go in the comments section down below. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out, which will be, as I said, about the Vancouver Canucks. Thank you again so much for watching. Please be kind to each other out there, and I will see you soon.